Hey guys, it's Mason and this is Wrestling in the Dark, the only professional wrestling podcast brought to you by a blind fan. Today I'm going to be bringing you my Money in the Bank predictions. Now, I really like fantasy booking and I want to make it a bigger part of this channel. So, today's prediction video is going to be the first of what will become fantasy versus reality. This is going to be something that I will do for pay-per-views, where I'll talk about how I do it versus what my prediction is. Also, just to let you know, this is not the only time that I'm going to be doing predictions this week. I'm going to be joining my newest wrestling buddy Nessa at Squared Circle Addicts. That's all one word, on Sunday. I'll try to let you know a little bit more about that maybe, but that is going to be happening. So go over, check out Squared Circle Addicts and keep an eye out, and I'll be having a conversation with her on Sunday. Right, WWE's Money in the Bank 2019. What's going to happen? How would I do it? How will they do it? Stick around if you want to find out. The first match on the kickoff show will be Tony Nese defending his Cruiserweight Championship against Ariya Daivari. Now, I'm not particularly up to date with 205 Live, however I do know that Tony Nese only just picked up that championship, so if it was me, I would have him retain it, keep it a little while longer, and I think that's what WWE will do. Fantasy and reality will be aligned with this one, I think. I literally blind guessing, no pun intended, I guess. It's a shot in the dark. Then it's going to be the SmackDown Live Tag Team Champions, Bryan and Rowan versus the Usos. Now, I'm not sure whether this is going to be a tag team title match or not, but I'm going to assume that it is. And in that case, I think that it will be a Bryan and Rowan retention. Now, if this was me, I think I would have the champions win. I'd want it to be as close as possible, though. Maybe just the Usos put in a really good showing, make it look like they could win, get it to the point where they're just that half a second from winning, looks like they have it won, and then Rowan pulls one of the Usos off Bryan or something like that. And I don't know how I think they're going to play it, but I think that either way, Bryan and Rowan will walk out as the SmackDown Live Tag Team Champions still. I will say, I'll predict now, that if it doesn't end up being a tag title match, I think that the Usos will walk away with the win. But if it's a tag title match, then Bryan and Rowan will retain. That is how I would do it, and I think, again, that is how WWE will do it. It'll be a competitive match. It'll be one of the matches that people say stole the show, even though it was on the pre-show. It's hard not to be when you've got those competitors in the ring. And I'll predict now that it'll be a strong 4 out of 6 match. Next up, let's talk about Roman Reigns versus Elias and Shane versus The Miz in a steel cage match. Going to talk about these two matches together because they're so closely linked. Now, there's a couple of different ways you could go with this, really. Now, with Elias versus Roman, this is how I do it. Elias really needs to start getting some momentum behind him. They need to start trying to make him a legit wrestler as well as the character that he is, because I'm not knocking Elias's mic work at all, because I think that his character is really well defined, if a little stale. But here's what I'd do. You bring out the B team. They've been getting involved anyway, and I think that they come out, they keep getting involved, and eventually the combination of them keep distracting Roman and Elias playing dirty, maybe a thumb to the eyes and a quick roll up with a handful of tights, give Elias that win, and put the B team with Elias as Elias's roadies. I think that'd be okay. You know, you've had that sort of dynamic before with them being the Miztourage, but I think there's a whole new host of things that you can do with them being the roadies. You could get some good comedy skits out of that, as well as maybe making Bo and Axel look a little bit more legit, especially if they start mixing it up in the tag division, which would be quite a decent way to go with it. So yeah, I'd give Elias the win via dirty tactics and the B team, which were now the roadies. And as for Shane and the Miz, that one's a really hard one. I think that the Miz needs to go over here. They're probably going to want to extend it out to SummerSlam. I just have that feeling that that's what they're going to do. And I think if Shane wins this, there's no reason for the feud to continue, unless it's some sort of screwy finish, which as much as I don't like those sort of finishes, I might go with here if I was booking it. I'd have the Elias Roman match happen first, the B team help Elias win, and then they come down during the Shane and Miz match and try and help Shane win, which then brings out Roman to come and help the Miz so they can align further and make them a tag team. Actually, it's actually a really good way of building up the tag division with Bryan and Rowan being in there. Then you'd have the roadies and Elias and Shane as a sort of faction, really, and then Miz and Roman as a tag team, and that way you've actually got a really strong tag team division on SmackDown with quite a few main event level people. The Big Dog and the Big Mouth. I don't know, I think that they could, as much as they are wildly different characters that you wouldn't imagine would team up, I think if they got the chemistry and the timing right, I think they could actually pull it off quite well. Now, how do I think they will do it? What is my actual prediction? You know what, just going back to the fantasy thing for a second, I think Miz should be the one to do the big crazy spot. Everyone's like, Shane's jumping off that cage then, right? With all the criticisms that Daniel Bryan has had towards Miz for being soft and safe, like he said in the Talking Smack episode, the thing that kicked off the whole Miz-Bryan rivalry, I think if you were going to go the way that I was doing it, that would fold all of this into what would be the new tag team division, I think it would be a good idea to have Miz do the big high spot, jump off the top of the cage onto Shane, maybe just a crossbody type deal, and then that way when you get Miz versus Bryan on the mic, Miz can actually, as the face in this situation, can bring up what Bryan said in the past and turn it round on him and be like, look, I've gone out there, I've improved, I've proved you wrong, and I think that would be a really clever way to go. So now I'm going to actually go for my actual predictions. I think when it comes to Elias and Roman, I think the B team probably will still get involved, but Roman will probably Superman punch them both and then spear Elias and win. I don't particularly have a problem with that because Elias, it's not like he's in this pivotal position where if he picks up a win, he's suddenly going to be a megastar, although beating Roman would be a really good thing for him. But I think Roman goes over in this match. I still think Miz goes over in the cage match, but I think there'll be a lot of climbing out and Shane trying to get away. I'm not sure whether they'll have the screwy finish or not. I feel like they will, but I think when it comes down to it, Shane's going to try and do a lot of escaping. Miz will probably use the cage to his advantage. I hope they do. I hope they have sort of an old school cage match I'd like to see. Or I'd like to know that Miz was like raking Shane's face across the cage, all that sort of good business, slamming him into it. So I think that The Miz will come out of this with the win. I'm not sure whether they'll have him do the big crazy spot. I think that it'll be Shane that does the big crazy spot. He'll miss, and then Miz will get the skull-crushing finale. I also think this will be... You know what? I think it's going to be a sneaky 5 out of 6 match, this. As much as I'm not a huge fan of Shane, and I've not particularly been a huge fan of this feud, I still think that those two can pull out a decent match. The Mania match was really entertaining, and I'm excited to see what they can do again. So, my predictions are Roman wins and Miz wins. And Roman and Elias will be a 4 out of 6 match. Next, let's talk about Samoa Joe versus Rey Mysterio for the United States Championship. Now, this one is almost certainly going to involve Dominic, Mysterio's son, in some way. They've been trotting him out and getting him involved in the story. Cesaro's made the aspersions to Joe actually being Dominic's real father. I like that they've gone back to the Joe is just a creepy man gimmick. It's so awful, and it really works. It just makes him... It's that dichotomy between, like, enjoying the way that he does it and also being disgusted by the actual character. So where would I go if this was me? I think that if you're going to get Dominic involved, I think that Joe needs to come out of this with the win, because I don't think he should lose that United States Championship yet. So what I would do is probably have Joe beat Rey quite a lot, just have him beating him pillar to post around the ringside area, taunting Dominic as much as he can, sort of the Shane Miz thing, and then I think Dominic just eventually loses it, gets in the ring or at ringside, and Joe decks him, and then Rey is so distracted and distraught by this that either Joe manages to get that coquina clutch, or maybe even gets himself counted out. I think that would be a good way to go. Joe attacks Dominic, maybe puts him in the coquina clutch, knocks him out. Rey's so, like, distraught and distracted that he doesn't even notice the ref counting to 10. And then afterwards, in the coming weeks, you can continue that feud. Joe can be like, you got yourself counted out, that's a coward's way out, etc., and sort of taunt him for it. And I think that would be a nice dynamic, and it would be a good way of maybe forming some sort of loose alliance with Cesaro over the next couple of months or something, because with all the news and rumours about Sheamus and his injuries, I don't think that he's going to be coming back anytime soon, and they probably aren't going to push Cesaro as a single star. So even if you don't make them a fully fledged tag team, just forming some loose alliance between Joe and Cesaro as they sort of taunt Rey Mysterio and his son for a number of weeks or months, until maybe some sort of eventual SummerSlam match with Joe and Cesaro versus Dominic and Mysterio. How will they do it? What is the reality? I think this will be a fairly quick match, akin to what it was at WrestleMania. I don't think it'll be quite as short, because I don't think they'd want to do that again. I think that we'll see a 619 kick out. I think Dominic will still get involved, but I think I have a sneaking suspicion that they might actually help. That they might actually help his dad win. It's such a difficult, such a difficult decision, and I'm gonna go with it's so hard to think of. Let's go with Mysterio wins. Dominic gets involved somehow, Joe gets distracted like an idiot, and Rey hits the 619 for the second or third time and picks up that United States Championship and celebrates with his son. I reckon that's how they'll do it. And it'll be... It depends what they want to do. If they want to give them a decent match, it could actually be like a strong 5 out of 6 match. But if they are going to give it like a little bit of short time and and they're not going to fully commit to it, then it could be like a low 4. So I'm going to go with a low 5. I reckon it'll be a low 5 out of 6 with Mysterio picking up the United States Championship. It's time for Becky Lynch's section next. She'll be defending the Raw and SmackDown Live Women's Championships against Charlotte and Lacey Evans. Now this is a complicated one, and I'm not sure particularly where I'd go with it, but let's try this. I would probably have Becky Charlotte first. It's a competitive match. They're going backwards and forwards. They both know each other so well. They're blocking each other's moves, counter for counter, trading pins. It's a really, really competitive match. And the commentary are playing up, oh, she's got to face Lacey Evans. She's got to face Lacey Evans at some point. And what's she going to do? And Becky's just getting slowly more worn down. But towards the end of the match, she manages to squeak out a disarmer and she picks up the win. Or even if it's some sort of roll-up, it's just got to be one of those quick, out-of-nowhere wins where she's so tired and she manages to pull it off. Charlotte can't believe it. She lays a beating down on Becky and leaves. Then Lacey Evans' music hits. She comes down and she brings Charlotte back with her, and the commentary are playing it up like being dead shocked about, is the match happening now? No way can they put Becky Lynch in back-to-back action. And then the ring announcer actually announces the match. It is going to be Lacey Evans next. Becky's got to defend her belts in 2 matches consecutively. Maybe Lacey Evans convinces Charlotte come back down with her. They lay a bit of a beating in before the before the bell rings, and then maybe once Lacey Evans gets in the ring, you have a sort of maybe a little bit of trash talking. Becky's trying to get herself up on the ropes. Maybe even do that thing that I really like when refs ask them if they can compete before they let them. If are you ready? Can you stand up? And then maybe you go with Lacey Evans throws that women's right. Becky manages to counter into the disarmer, but because she's so tired, she's weak, and Lacey Evans manages to roll her up and maybe even gets the feet on the ropes and picks up that Raw Women's Championship. And then that way, Becky doesn't have to go out of the scene then. She's got a reason to carry on chasing Lacey. I defended my SmackDown Live Women's Championship against Charlotte Flair, who's one of the top stars in this company, in a highly competitive match, and you came out and you cheapened it and got a cheap win, and I'm coming for that belt back. And that way you can have her defending the SmackDown Live Women's Championship and also chasing the Raw one, which I think could be quite interesting, playing the defending and chasing champion at the same time. I think could be really, really interesting. So let's go for reality now. I think Charlotte versus Becky will probably be afterwards, and Lacey versus Becky will be first. I think we'll probably get a similar sort of scenario to mine when it comes to Lacey versus Becky. However, I think what it'll be is Lacey will come down. She'll probably get out the ring a lot, start avoiding Becky. They'll be playing it up as Cole will be all outraged, like, oh, she's being a coward, and Corey will be like, oh, this is really, really clever, she's playing mind games or whatever. And then she'll get in the ring, she'll throw that woman's right, Becky will get the disarmer, and it'll be a fairly quick and decisive win for Becky Lynch. Then I think there'll be a bit more drama between Becky and Charlotte, I think it'll look a lot like Charlotte's going to pick it up at some point, but I think Becky, again, will come out with the win. She'll come out with both her belts, and she will be victorious. The Lacey Evans match, I'm predicting, will be a solid 3 out of 6, and the Charlotte versus Becky, I reckon, will be a 5 out of 6. I think it'll be a really good match, and that's my predictions. Becky manages to retain both belts. The Women's Money in the Bank ladder match with Dana Brooke, Natalya, Naomi, Nikki Cross, Ember Moon, Bayley, Mandy Rose and Carmella. Now, this is a pretty good ladder match in my opinion. I quite like all the women in this, even Dana Brooke. Shoot me if you want to, but I actually am a fan of Dana Brooke. I sort of get behind her whenever she comes out. I'm going to be secretly rooting for her in this match. Even in my fantasy booking, I don't think I'd have her win this. Where would I go if it was me? Now, I think I would probably go with Ember Moon. She probably needs to give Jackson Riker a call because she's been forgotten, and I think that her winning the Money in the Bank briefcase would just give her a little bit of summer, get her momentum rolling, get her reintroduced. You know, you've got the wild card rule. I wouldn't be surprised if you could cash in on either brand at this point, and if she has that briefcase, she can show up on both shows, and that way you can establish her a little bit more and get her over. And I definitely think that's what I would do. I'd have her at least pull off some sort of amazing feat like an eclipse or whatever. I'd definitely not off the top of the ladder. I know there'll be people that are like, eclipse off the top of the ladder. I'm like, no, don't do that. Just don't. It's not safe. So yeah, I'd have a really strong performance in the match, and I'd definitely have a point where it looks like Dana Brooke's going to win, and it looks like Naomi's going to win, because most of the women in this match are a decent pick, and it's really down, to me, it's really down to Ember Moon or Nikki Cross, because Nikki Cross, again, she is very underutilised at the minute. They haven't at all used her well, or at all really, until this last week when she's ended up replacing Alexa Bliss. So yeah, I still think I'd go with Ember Moon, but Nikki Cross would be a really good pick, because her with the Money in the Bank briefcase, she's like this, she's the living embodiment of the wild card. Like, you know what I mean? She's just this wild child, and her turning up like all the time, teasing those Money in the Bank. Oh, it's so hard, because I really want to pick Ember, because I'd like to give Ember a push. Plus, if she wins, that's going to get me points in the fantasy draft. But you know what? Ember can probably get herself back over. She'll probably end up in the title scene anyway. So I'm changing my pick on the fly, and it would be, if it was me, I'd put Nikki Cross as the Money in the Bank winner, because she could turn up all the time, teasing it. You never know what she's going to do with it, never know when she's going to cash it in, and it gives them a reason to use her a little bit more. Ember Moon has the Eclipse. They love that, and I guarantee you she will get used over the next couple of months, where I'm not particularly sure Nikki Cross will. So that would be my fantasy pick, would be Nikki Cross. Where do I think they'll actually go with it? Bayley. That's definitely where I think they're going with this. They're not going to give it to any of those Raw women. Dana isn't even going to touch that briefcase, I don't think. Natty, definitely not. Naomi, I definitely don't think they'll go for. And Nikki Cross, I mean, it might be a shock upset victory that they go with. You know, if that happens, I will be very, very shocked. And I definitely it'll just be Bayley. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. She's the least over of the horsewomen, and she could be in a fairly good position now that Sasha isn't around. I'd like to see them use her more, so I'm not necessarily going to be disappointed it'll be interesting to see how she plays it with cashing in. I think she might be one of the only face people that could actually make it work, because she could be like, I don't know, she can just explain to Becky, like, I'm going to have to cash this in at some point because I won it and I'm not going to waste it, but I just want you to know that I'm not going to try and cheat you out of it. I'm not going to tell you when I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to cheat you out of it either. So, fantasy pick would be Nikki Cross. Reality prediction is Bayley. And I think that the match will be high 4. I think it'll end up being a high 4 with Bayley picking up that briefcase. The men's Money in the Bank ladder match featuring Baron Corbin, Drew McIntyre, Ricochet, Sami Zayn, Mustafa Ali, Andrade, Finn Balor, and Randy Orton. Now, with the exception of Randy, I think this is a bloody stacked Money in the Bank match, and I'm really, really excited to see where it goes. I could probably make a case for most of the men winning in this. If you're going down the fantasy route, as much as people don't like Baron, and he's been the source of many a complaint with Raw, one of the things that sent him down the path that he's on now is failing that Money in the Bank cash-in. So you give him the Money in the Bank briefcase, and you actually give him some decent momentum, a few solid wins, he could easily be a good pick. You could have him actually redeem himself at that point and sort of erase what he did before. Ricochet, I don't think that he will be the one to pick it up, and I really don't, and I don't think that I would pick him to be. I think he'll probably wipe himself out with some sort of insane move, which will probably result in whoever wins winning. Sami Zayn would probably be my actual fantasy pick. I think he could put on some good matches with Rollins. He put on that match with AJ and Kofi not long ago, and I could see him going against Kofi and being able to bring up his performance in that match and talk about how close he was with his Blue Thunder bombs, and if he'd have just hit that haluva kick, he'd have probably won or whatever. And even if Owens wins that match, you've also got Sami versus Owens. Owens can sort of assume he's safe, and then Sami can be even more of a monster than Owens thinks he is. Nope, I don't care if we're friends or best friends, I'm coming for that title, and it can sort of take Owens by surprise. Mustafa Ali, I've already outlined why I think he could win, with going back after Kofi and talking about Kofi taking his spot in the gauntlet match and not necessarily having a chip on his shoulder about it, but just saying, I'm coming for what could have been mine. Balor has got the Intercontinental Championship, so I don't think he needs it. Randy doesn't need it, and I could see them giving it to Andrade. Probably wouldn't be my fantasy pick though either. So I think for the most storyline possibilities, with the fantasy side of things, I'd pick Sami Zayn. I think they will probably go with Andrade, and this will be good for some people. I understand that he's a very, very accomplished in-ring technician or performer, whatever you want to call it. I know that he's very over with the hardcore fans. I'm not particularly too into him. I just can't connect to him because I can't really connect to people who have mouthpieces like Zelina Vega, because it just doesn't really work for me. I have no idea of what Andrade himself is like, but that is who I think they will give the Money in the Bank briefcase to. But I think this will be a bloody good match, honestly. So, fantasy pick would be Sami Zayn. He can go either after Kofi or Owens, whoever wins that match, and it'd be a decent feud, and it keeps Sami Zayn relevant and gives him something to do. I think in reality they'll go with Andrade, and he probably won't do much with it, and he'll probably eventually manage to cash it in. I don't know who he'd take it off, but I think his cash in will be successful when it happens. I think that it'll be Andrade. That's my prediction. And I think that it'll be a strong 5 out of 6 match, this, if they allow Ricochet and Mustafa Ali and maybe even Sami Zayn to compete at the top of their levels. This could easily be a 6 out of 6 match, in my opinion. Kofi Kingston defends the WWE Championship against Kevin Owens in the next match. Now, a lot of people are picking Kevin Owens in this, but I think that Kofi Kingston will get a nice, clean, strong win out of this. They seem to actually be going all in with trying to give Kofi some decent retentions. He's retained against Bryan, against AJ and Sami Zayn at the same time, and it's actually making him look legit. I'd really like to see him pick up the win here, and I'm gonna go with the bold prediction that WWE will actually show the faith in him to give him the win over Kevin Owens and let him continue this title reign that he's on. Fantasy booking wise, I would probably have Sami Zayn come out. Obviously, in my little fantasy world, he would be Money in the Bank holder. He'd come out and he'd tease it. And then I want to make it really clear that Owens would not lose because of Sami Zayn, because I don't want to boot myself into Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens again. So I would definitely say that it would be some sort of situation where maybe Xavier comes out and sends Zayn packing, and then they can blame it on Xavier distracting Owens rather than Sami Zayn, because he was fine when Zayn was out there, but as soon as Xavier came out, that was when he got distracted. Kofi picks up the win, and you can continue that Owens and Zayn going after the New Day sort of thing. It would be a sort of shaky alliance, because Owens would be aware that he's going after the WWE Championship and Zayn's got the Money in the Bank briefcase, and Zayn would just be like, nah, don't worry about it. It'd be sort of that Daniel Bryan thing with the Big Show. In reality, I'm going to stick to the prediction that I was going to say that Owens loses the match, that Kofi retains that WWE Championship. God damn it, I'm going with that as my answer. I've recorded this once already and picked Owens, but I changed my mind and I'm sticking with Kofi retaining. And it's going to be a strong 4 out of 6 match. Seth Rollins defends the Universal Championship against AJ Styles next. I'm really excited for this match. It's probably one of the matches that I am most hyped for, other than the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. I can't wait for this. I think fantasy and reality are going to be lined up here. At least I hope they are. So in Fantasyland, I would go with AJ Styles picking up the Universal Championship here. He's been heading down this path of getting a little bit more aggressive. He doesn't seem to have much respect for Rollins, and he's been leaning a little bit more towards the heel side, and this is where I'd pull out that full heel turn. Really dirty tactics on Seth Rollins, just stuff that you wouldn't even think with AJ Styles. Lots and lots of forearms, maybe even a Styles clash. I would just have AJ completely take it to Rollins. Obviously Rollins needs to get his offense in, and AJ Styles needs to definitely kick out of a few things. I'd really like to see AJ kick out of a stomp. I think that'd be a massive deal. It'd make AJ look great. But in the end, AJ gets frustrated and basically does sort of the same sort of thing as what Daniel Bryan did to him, and just loses it on Seth and goes all vicious and becomes the Pitbull AJ Styles. They definitely shouldn't announce him as that, though. Even in my fantasy, they should not. Oh god, the Pitbull AJ Styles. I would not want that. But yeah, heel turn picks up that win. Rollins can still chase the championship. I know that he's not had that belt for long, but I'd like to see a few different people hold that championship now. It's unfortunate that it was Rollins that they gave it to afterwards, but they had to give it to someone big. But I don't want another long Universal Championship reign. I'd like to see a few different guys hold it, and AJ versus Rollins can continue as a decent feud. Whether or not you put the club with him is a matter of... It's a matter of different people's tastes. I probably would, because it'd be a pretty cool dynamic, but I don't know whether the club are on the way out or not. I really wouldn't mind either way, because I think AJ as like this serious, vicious heel would be fine on his own. I wouldn't, even if they went with the club, I wouldn't want it to be that comedy version of the club with nerds. I'd want it to be a serious one, and that's so. If I put the club with them, it'd be a serious version, but if not, I'd just keep AJ on his own as this vicious heel that just wants to just beat Rollins and disrespect him and sort of school him for even thinking he could hang with him. In reality, I still think they're going to go for the AJ heel turn. And that's why I think fantasy and reality will be sort of aligned the most in this match. I just feel like they're going for an AJ heel turn, but I still feel like Rollins might come out of this with the win. I don't know if they want to take that belt off Seth yet, but if AJ turns heel and then he doesn't win, that doesn't make him look too good. So, you know what? I'm going to go with my official prediction is Seth Rollins wins, but then AJ turns heel and beats him up after the match, and then stands tall over him at the end of the pay-per-view, because I think this will be the main event. And yeah, that would be. I think that's how it'll go off the air. AJ Styles has just turned heel and done some dastardly things to Seth Rollins, who's still the Universal Champion, but is not standing tall at the end of the show. That's my official prediction, and it would be a very, very strong 5 out of 6 match. Again, wouldn't be surprised if they give this enough time and they tell the story right, and the commentary does a good job. This could easily be a 6 out of 6 match. So that was fantasy versus reality, Money in the Bank predictions. I'm really looking forward to this pay-per-view. I think it's actually going to be one of the best pay-per-views in a while. I'm really looking forward to both Money in the Bank matches. The Becky Lynch story could be pretty good. I don't know if I'm looking forward to the matches as much, but I think the overall story will be pretty good. And I'm really, really excited for Kofi and Owens and AJ versus Rollins. There's just a lot going on here that's actually fairly interesting, and the only thing that I'm really not that interested in is the Roman versus Elias stuff, but I think they could pull off a decent enough thing in that. So, there will be no Monday mix-up this Monday, because I will be doing my Money in the Bank review. However, don't worry, there will be a mix-up edition this week. It will replace NXT UK on Friday, because I don't think I'm going to do NXT UK anymore, because people don't seem to care, and I really want to find a way to work fantasy booking into this channel a little bit more. So that'll possibly be what I do with Fridays. But next Friday will be a mix-up. Monday will be the Money in the Bank reaction, recap, review, whatever you want to call it. As I said, again, this is not the only time that I'll be predicting Money in the Bank this week. I will be joining Squared Circle Addicts on Sunday. That's all one word, Squared Circle Addicts. So check her out, keep an eye out, and I'll be there. Let me know in the comments section down below what you thought of any of these picks, what you'd do if it was your Fantasyland. What do you think they'll do in reality? If you've liked what you've heard here, make sure to hit that like button and make me feel good. And if you want to stay up to date with Wrestling in the Dark, hit that subscribe, hit the notify bell, and you'll never miss an episode. Let's be friends. Right guys, I'm off. and you should have a good and enjoy Money in the Bank.